Molly, how many people do you reckon set New Year's resolutions? Like if you had to put a percentage on it.
A percentage of the population.
Of the UK
The UK population. Set them, I would say 40%.
40. Kieran, what do you think?
That's too high.
I'm going to go, and this is like, is this like if you're the closest wins?
I think so. I don't know what you win, but you win something.
Just the words you've won. I'll live with that.
Okay, cool.
I'd go, I reckon 31%.
You think only 31%?
Yeah, I reckon 1 in 3. That's what I've...
Molly, you said 40%?
Yeah, 40, although I'm feeling like it is lower than that, but I'm just going to...
There's a lot higher, but you are closer than... So you're closer than Kieran.
Did I win?
You won, Molly. You get the precious words, you won. It's actually, according to a recent study, 74% of people in the UK set New Year's resolutions.
74%?
And I was even more stunned by the fact that apparently 96% of Gen Z people set New Year's resolutions.
Wow, that is a lot.
So very relevant for people like you and I, Molly. Not so relevant for people like Kieran. Making no inferences there.
Thanks, James. Cheers, mate.
Or our grandparents either. Not very relevant for them. But
wow, this is just getting worse.
So New Year's resolutions are very popular in the UK, but we all know very famously how often do people actually follow through on them. I was trying to research some statistics on this, and I couldn't find anything that seemed reliable or precise, but it seems like at least 50% of people give up on their New Year's resolutions by the end of January, let alone getting anywhere near to reaching their actual goal. So what do we think about New Year's resolutions generally? Is it something we do every year that we love, or we're one of those people that just say, why would I wait for the new year to change something?
Probably since about a teenager, I've been a big fan of New Year's resolutions for a number of reasons. First of all, I think I'm quite action orientated, so I like doing things. I like to see change. I'm sort of that action based, and so the idea of setting a New Year's resolution, setting something that's going to help me think about my own growth and improvement, big fan. So I also think you don't have to wait till January. Like there's this, it might have been actually in James Clear's book, Atomic Habits, talk about, often people wait for like Monday, I'm going to start that thing on Monday. And I think you can just start at any time. However, I think moments like January are very helpful because some of that, lots of people are doing it. 74% of people are doing it by the sounds of it. And so you've got that almost collective energy, that collective conversation around, what are you going to do? Obviously, marketeers and advertising that are often talking about that stuff. So I think January is really helpful because it's that sort of clean start, that fresh start, that new year. However, I'm always keen, if I want to change something, today's the best day. I think there's that famous quote, when's the best time to plant the tree? 20 years ago. When's the second best time? Today. So I like the idea of doing something.
So I do like a New Year's resolution. I like a fresh start in January. Although I'm kind of famously known for I'll have a fresh start once all the chocolate's finished from Christmas. So it's never quite January 1st, but maybe a little bit later once I've got through chocolate oranges. But I'm somebody who I think over the years have decided that I'm much better at lots of smaller goals than I am at like one big statement overarching goal for the whole year. I think I've done those before and they've just not been very realistic, and then they just get really disheartening after a certain amount of time. In fact, I remember once with my family, we all wrote down a New Year's resolution in an envelope, and then we sealed it and we thought we'll open them next New Year's, and it's still unopened because I know exactly what I've written and I know I've not done it, and it was about, 5-7 years ago, but I still remember exactly what's in there.
Do you think you'll ever open it?
Probably not, because I know in my head that it's quite an unrealistic goal. I don't think I'm ever going to reach it. So I'm definitely someone for lots of kind of smaller goals, and each year I like to mind map out my life in a way. I like to kind of look at the different areas of my life. What do I want to achieve in those different things? Some of them are work things, personal things. Some of them are faith things. Some of them are money things. Some of them are health things. I like to kind of have a couple of smaller goals or targets, even if it's just I want to do this one small thing this year that I've been meaning to do for ages, or this consistent thing, or whatever it might be. I find that kind of easier to manage and kind of less pressure on one thing in particular, but just helps kind of refresh my mindset ahead of a year. So I don't know if it's necessarily one New Year's resolution, but it's more of lots of little resolutions, if that makes sense.
A lot of mind map reflection, it sounds like.
Yeah, exactly. Just a little refresh to kind of recenter myself and actually what do I want this year to look like in lots of different aspects of my life.
Like Kieran, I think setting goals is really important. And it's obviously something we speak about a lot at Phase. And so I used to be one of those people that said, why on earth would I wait till the new year to set a goal? I used to think it was really stupid. I used to hate the idea of New Year's resolutions. And I suppose there's some justification in that when we see the statistics of people giving up quite early, quite regularly. But these days I've softened a little bit. I actually quite like New Year's resolutions. I'm quite a reflective person, and I feel like Christmas and the New Year are quite like naturally a good time to reflect. I find when you do that, you typically end up thinking about stuff you might want to change or new things you want to pick up or goals you want to set. And so I actually do kind of, without being really intentional about it, I do find that I make some changes or set some goals around New Year now. So I'm kind of in the pro New Year's resolutions boat now, I suppose. So with that in mind, I suppose we're all quite pro New Year's resolutions. Can you think of any specific examples of ones that you've maybe set in the last couple of years, or perhaps this year, that you'd like to talk about today?
One that I set last year and I'm actually trying to take into this year because it seems it was a lot harder than I thought, was just about improving sleep. I recognise that, I know the importance of how sleep really helps our brain development, our health, so many other things. I have a natural alarm clock called Daniel that it doesn't matter how much I try. My lovely little boy, he wants to wake up early, and he's like electricity when he wakes up. And so I can't change that. So I've then got to work out what time I go to bed. And so I've really tried hard to develop some routines. But it doesn't always go well, and so I'm continually adapting. But the idea is, I've set some times on my phone, so it goes off and it's like, right, time for bed. And into that, then I'm trying to have a good routine, maybe just reading a bit before I go to sleep, coming away from my phone and all of that stuff. But yeah, sleep something it's a New Year's resolution I've set because after watching Matt Walker's TED talk on sleep being our superpower, it really impacted me, and I thought, right, I need to do something about that.
Yeah, Matt Walker's stuff is really powerful, and I wonder, it's quite popular these days, so I wonder how many other people have sleep-based New Year's resolutions. So yeah, it's really interesting, Kieran. Thank you. What about you, Molly?
Yeah, so as I said, I've got like loads of little ones, so I'll pick a couple out to kind of talk about today. One of them is to read 3 books this year. Now, to your kind of average reader, they'll probably do that in a week, but reading is not my thing, although I want it to be my thing. A couple of years ago, I set myself a New Year's resolution to read 1 book that year, and I did it by the end of February, and then I never read any more books because I thought, well, I've done it, so I don't need to do it again. Don't need to do it anymore. So I thought, this year, 1 book a term, so kind of 3 books over the year, is where I'm aiming for. I want it to just be something that I do when I've got a spare kind of 10 minutes, or a bit like what Kieran was saying, like either before going to bed or first thing in the morning. There's just so much to learn, and I've had so many recommendations of great stuff in books, and I want to absorb that, and I want that to be part of my routine. I want to be a reader, so I need to put reading into my life. So that's one of my goals for the year. And another one, I don't know if it's necessarily a goal or more just something I want to do this year. As you are, James, I'm a reflector. I like moments to kind of pause and to kind of step back. And something I've said I want to do this year is to write 12 letters to 12 different people. So each month I want to write a letter to somebody in my life, either close or not quite so close, and just chat with them. I think letter writing is really cool, and also getting post is pretty exciting. So that's something else I want to do this year. Just gives me a space to like reflect on maybe some of my relationships with people, but also to like bring joy in that other like sense of communication with other people as well. So that's another one of my goals for this year. So yeah, I've got lots of kind of little ones, but they're more of plans than resolutions. But I think they all kind of come into one, some changes I want to make in 2025.
My New Year's resolution for 2025 is actually that I wanted to keep a journal every day. And I'm keeping 2 separate journals. I'm keeping one journal on stuff that I've learned through the day. So like I read and I listen to a lot of podcasts. And so often I realised I've just completely forgotten everything that I listened to on a podcast or read in a book. And I felt like reflecting on stuff that I've read or listened to, if I've listened to stuff or read a book that day, might be a good way of just helping me remember it. So I'm keeping a journal that way. But I'm also keeping a gratitude journal every day. Which I think is really important, something that I've recommended to a lot of other people but haven't actually done myself consistently in the past. I've done it on and off sporadically but not consistently. I'm just trying to make sure I do it every day this year. So on my like notes on my phone, there's no excuse. It's not in a notebook that I might lose. It's on my phone. I've got a gratitude journal and a learnings journal for every day of this year. So I'm trying to do that. But as a catalyst, in order to help me like kickstart that, realizing that I might need some like escape velocity to help me get off the ground with it. I said with my fiancée Izzy that we're not allowed to watch TV for the whole of January. We haven't turned the TV on at home, so that
Wow.
we've kind of got more spare time to do stuff like that. Because obviously, like normally the best time to do it is at the end of the day. And what we typically do when we get home in the evening and we're both at home and we've got nothing to do is watch TV, as I'm sure a lot of us do. I mean, I love Netflix. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with TV, but I've actually found it really useful so far just to actually like give me the time that I need in order to actually get on with this habit of trying to keep a journal every day. So that's been really good. And it's going well so far, but we are only on January the 17th as of recording this podcast. So let's see how it goes.
So no TV. So does that mean you're not going to watch the new season of Gladiators on BBC One?
I'll have to wait till February and watch it on iPlayer, I guess.
Wow. It's a big family viewing in my house. My 2 children, my wife, my 2 kids are so excited about Gladiators.
So one thing I would say is, and this is maybe, we're going to come on to what have we learned from our goals, so this will maybe kick it off, is really think about like the environment and the circumstances that you're setting your goal in. So obviously January is a really difficult month to not watch TV in because it's dark outside, it's cold outside.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good TV on for that reason. And so it is obviously people are talking about Traitors, as Kira mentioned, there's Gladiators. There's a lot of football on at the moment. So I will just be honest, I am technically allowed to watch football outside, so with friends, or I've been around my mum's house and watched football. And I did watch the United game on my laptop last night because it feels like it's different to TV. It's like live sport. It's not a TV show.
And that's allowed, right?
And that's a little, but I'm also going to try, I'm only minimally doing it. So that's a little bit allowed. It's not like a thing that I could just put on demand. It's live sport.
Yeah.
So I will just put an asterisk there like that. But yeah, so what have we learned specifically? So the goals we've talked about. So Molly, with you reading books and writing letters to people. Kieran, your sleep routine. What have you learned specifically maybe from those habits, and why would you maybe recommend them to other people?
So for me, on the sense of sleep, it's helped because actually I'm much better when I've got more sleep. You know, I feel better, I look better, I'm better to be around. However, also recognise that life doesn't always allow for me to have like all the sleep I want. I'm not like LeBron James, where you know his whole life schedule is around the amount of sleep that he has and when he sleeps. And you know, when you're a top NBA player, you can probably call some of those shots. I can't, and so I've learned that when I prioritise it, it's good. I have to understand that sometimes, like my work day, my life, you know, if I've got stuff going on in the evening, it means that actually I'm not going to be maybe getting home at the normal time, so I'll be getting home later and all of that. And so I've learned I have to adapt it. I have to be flexible. Even just looking ahead in my week, right? What can I do? Do I need to be out that late, or how can I change that? But I do, on those days that I do well and I get to bed early, and also waking up early. I try not to lay in, because again, what they'll say is trying to keep the regular sleep cycle is what's better for you. Actually, I feel a lot better. I feel more energy. I'm a much better dad, much better husband, friend, co-worker, everything else. The days that I don't, and I haven't thought about it, I'm not nearly as good.
So as James said, it's currently at recording of this podcast, January 17th. I have not read 3 books yet, nor have I not written 12 letters yet. But I think my hope for these New Year's resolutions is just taking some time out from the busyness of things. I think I want both of them to be moments where I can do that, where I can step back, have a bit of time by myself and share that with other people as well. I actually started one of these New Year's resolutions. Well, before it was a New Year's resolution, it was a September resolution that I was going to, over the academic year, read 3 books. And I made it 18 pages through a book. And then Christmas arrived. So it didn't actually get much further. And I think even just from that, I've learned that I can't do these things by myself. I need other people to even hold me accountable to some of those things, whether that's a friend or whether that's somebody at work, like whatever that is. I need somebody to kind of check in with and share some of that learning with, just to kind of keep me on track with stuff. So I think having put this resolution in place before and failed at it, I think I've learned actually what I need to do and almost how I work a little bit more in order to get the most out of it. So I've decided that even though it didn't work out first time, I'm not going to let that get in the way. Actually, I'm gonna start again. I'm gonna try again, and I'm gonna change some of the things around it. To try and achieve what I want to achieve.
So, Kieran, I reckon you'll be really interested in what I feel like I've specifically learned so far from my 17 days of my 2025 resolution. So you mentioned James Clear earlier, And we speak a lot about habit stacking, which was kind of, he coined that phrase, where we maybe stack positive habits together. So maybe you do 10 push-ups every time you brush your teeth, which would be a slightly strange example, but you get the point. I have learned from my New Year's resolution so far, and I'm going to coin this habit toppling, that actually we can kind of reverse engineer that. So there may be some habits that we do that maybe have bad other habits stacked on top of it. So for example, for me, I have realized that when I watch TV, my attention span was so bad, I would be watching TV and scrolling my phone at the same time, and probably eating some popcorn and all the rest of it. And I've realized that when I actually don't watch TV, I don't look at my phone in the evening, because it's quite hard to look at your phone when you're, say, reading a book, for example, or just chatting to friends that have come over, or chatting to Izzy. So it's really hard to look at my phone doing that. And also, I've just noticed that a lot of people obviously set physical well-being goals in January, and maybe to eat better or whatever. I've noticed that I just don't snack in the evening when I don't watch TV. So I've come up with this term, habit toppling. So think about maybe something that you do that seems to have other behaviours stacked on top of it, and then topple them over if you want to get rid of them. So that is what I feel I've learned specifically so far from my 2025 New Year's resolution. I'm sure we've also learned some stuff that might be more applicable generally to setting goals. So obviously we've just kind of sold what we've done this year that might encourage other people to try out some of the stuff we've tried. But more generally, when we think about goal setting, what do you think you've learned from what you've done so far this year, and how you went about setting your resolution?
So I'm going to come back to what I was saying just before then about doing it with people. I think accountability is really important. Something I've been trying to plan with a friend, and we'll definitely get there before the end of January, is to go for a coffee and talk about all the things we want to do this year together. And then at the end of that coffee date, booking in the next time that we're going to see each other and talk about it again. And I think that's really cool. One, because I get to spend time with a friend, but also actually looking at our lives, actually what are the things we want to achieve this year? What habits do we want to stack or topple? What does that look like? And then make it a fun conversation. There's always like coffee involved, probably cake as well, let's be real. And then like putting in the time again to talk about it again, and having that person to just check in with and celebrate the small wins about it. Like I'm really looking forward to messaging her and telling her I've read my first book, or I've written my first letter, or whatever that might be, and having someone to celebrate that stuff with you, but also to motivate you when it's not going so well, when actually I've got 2 weeks before the Easter holidays and I've not even started a book. Actually, she'll be the person who I'll be reaching out to for some support and some encouragement around that. So yeah, I think doing it with people, either with your friends or even just telling your friends or people you know about them, really, really helps.
I've a few things I've learned. First of all is to write it down, like actually write down. Part of that, I think, is just committing it to paper. It makes you think about it. A guy called Jim Collins talks about the big, hairy, audacious goal, and that's often what I have is have this sort of big goal, that resolution, and then I often break it down to sort of 3 to 5 actionable steps. So sleep, for instance, it's disengage. I want to improve my sleep so I can be a better father, husband, friend, be healthier, have more energy, etc. And then breaking that down to disengaging from my phone half an hour before I go to sleep, not turning the bathroom light on to brush my teeth, but just using the little light because it's not as bright. So you start to get sleepy, and then you go into this room and it's like ultra bright light. Doing that sort of list out. So when I'm struggling, I know that I've got some small goals to achieve that are going to help me get there. And something else I've definitely learned from it is it's not about perfection, but it's about progress. I know you referenced that in your blog recently, James, which is really, really good. And it's that sense of, if I'm going to beat myself up every time I fail, that's not motivating me. It's not going to help me. But having that sense of, okay, am I getting better? Progression isn't always a straight linear journey. It has ups and downs and good and bad. And so just trying to do that, celebrate that progression. That's something else I've learned.
Remember I said at the start, it sounds like most of us don't even get to January. And I reckon that's probably because we set these lofty goals, these big, hairy, audacious goals. I thought you were about to say big, hairy, audacious goalkeeper, by the way. We set these things, and then maybe we come across the first stumbling block, and then we just think, no, I can't do it. I'm not going to get there. And so I think, particularly with New Year's resolutions in mind, if we want to get past January, that's a really, really good point, Kieran, about progress over perfection. We're going to, there's going to be stumbling blocks along the way. It's not always going to be smooth sailing. We talk a lot about resilience, and we need that when we're trying to achieve big, hairy, audacious goals for sure.
The other thing that when it comes to writing down, I always say keep it in your eye line. And so often on the inside of my wardrobe is like just a printed out version of what I'm aiming for, because every day I have to open out a wardrobe to get dressed. Or even, your phone screensaver or something, like having it somewhere where you can see it. So it's reminding you, it's that consistent sort of constant reminder that can really help you keep going.
I actually do a very similar thing to what you were saying about the inside of your wardrobe doors. On the inside of my wardrobe doors is like a picture version of the same thing. So I do like a little like vision board normally at the start of the year with kind of like different pictures or little quotes or like different stuff, sometimes some photos, or maybe if I've already booked holiday for the year, I'll put a photo of that place as well, and kind of like what I want my year to look like. So it's very similar, but just in like a very visual format.
So I don't know if this counts, because my goal in and of itself is to journal, but I would actually say that it's taught me that journaling is really important for sticking to goals. So because I've been journaling what I've learned or what I'm grateful for, I've realized that sometimes one of the things I've been grateful for is like I'm grateful for the difference this is making. Journaling in and of itself has been really useful for keeping track of the differences I've noticed. So obviously we've not been watching TV, and I've been able to reflect on what difference that has made. So I'd actually recommend journaling, not just because journaling is great, but also if you've got a goal, actually keeping a journal maybe specifically for that goal. I reckon that would be a good thing to try out. And then you've mentioned this as well, Molly, but accountability, but not just accountability, actually doing a goal with someone. It's almost like it's a team effort. So Izzy and I have joked about like, you're going to turn the TV on tonight. No, you're going to turn the TV on tonight. And it's always made it this like fun challenge that's almost gamified it a little bit and turned it into this team effort. And I actually think that accountability is one thing, but if you can find someone that you can literally do the goal with, you're actually accountable to each other. It's not just you're doing this goal and someone knows about it and they're trying to help you along the way. It's like you're literally doing this thing together. Obviously, our example is quite silly. It's just not that TV is the end of the world or watching TV is a bad thing. But it's just been really helped me or reminded me that actually, just doing stuff with people is really, really helpful. It might be, for example, that maybe your goal is to go to the gym. I'd think about, is there a friend you could go to the gym with? There's so many examples I could think of where doing a goal with someone would be a really great idea.
I think what you said about gamifying is really, really good, and sort of building that consistency. And so I use the Bible app for that. And as of today, my current streak is 2,220 days in a row. And what's happened with that is it's did it with friends, but it's really kept it going. It's built in that habit. And so much so, again, think about disengaging with phone. Like I won't use my phone until I've done that, until I've read, even if it's just a verse for the day, so that because it's important to me. And something even geekily I've done is that if I've not opened it by 7:23, and my friends laugh at me why it's 7:23, I don't know why, a reminder comes up on my phone, and so I've put a shortcut, so I press a button and it opens up for me.
Wow, Kieran, you've just made me feel really bad, because over Christmas I started using Duolingo a little bit again, which has nothing to do with my New Year's resolutions, but I look back at my history and my longest streak was like 492 days, and I was like really impressed with myself. But now I've heard that you've got a 2,000 and whatever day streak on, so I'm gutted. Honestly, what a way to end the podcast. I'm absolutely distraught.
I think they're both pretty impressive, to be honest.
I think we need a round of applause for Kieran's Bible streak.
Woo!
Thanks for tuning in to the First Phase podcast of 2025. Don't forget to follow our socials at Phase Hitchin to stay up to date with all things Phase. You can also use those platforms to get in touch and let us know how your resolutions are going or what you thought about today's episode. Finally, please take a moment to rate the Phase podcast on whatever platform you're listening on. It's super helpful to know what we're doing well and how we can improve. Also, ratings help more people find our podcast. Have a good day wherever you're listening, and we'll see you in the next episode.